All right, hey folks, it is December the 9th, and we're talking about the first half of chapter 26. So we're going to go over this, and then after that, I want you to go into Quizlet and study those 3 sections that I lined up for our quiz on tomorrow. I'm going to post that in the Google Classroom and all that good stuff. Yes, sir, question?
How are half of these in Latin while the rest are in English?
I don't know. I'm sorry. But I mean, like, one thing that's cool, your red book for Latin has pretty good, like, in between one or two of those chapters, they have a good outlook on what a standard Roman villa looked like.
It's a villa.
Yeah, it is a villa. Or no, it's a villa. No, because yeah, 2 L's put together only make that sound in Spanish, not in Latin. So.
Where is the?
So I had a teacher named Miss Villa Vicencia.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say dormitorio, but it's like, no, wrong language. All right. So let's see. The terms we have on the board are Roman homes, clothing, education, and gods. So. We have the different ones. We have like the triclinium, which the room of 3 couch and recline, and usually a standard dining room. For some reason, Romans didn't like to eat sitting down or standing up. So there was like a certain way you did it. You would lie down on your right side, stuff like that. Moving on from there, of course, we and then wealthy Romans. The city of Rome had laws about building up. They believed that the higher up you built a building, like apartments and stuff, led to more people living together, which led to crime and stuff like that.
Where do they kill people with sticks?
Because
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, they just use
no,
gloves.
I'm not kidding. Because like in Rome, weapons were illegal. You couldn't in the city of Rome. You couldn't bring a sword or a dagger or something or a spear. You had so they just used gloves. It's true. I guess you could, but then you could be arrested. All right, so let me see. They had separate bedrooms. They had storage rooms. You have slave quarters. Yeah, if they were in town, if there was somebody who sold something, that we would have a shop in front. But usually, you went to the forum to do your business, and booths were temporary. It might be a table that you brought, or you might rent out a little shop area in the forum, kind of like this. But yeah, there was laws about building up, so the Roman city had to spread out. It was usually only wealthy people who could afford a house like this. Most Romans who lived in Rome lived in little small apartments, which were basically one large room, and you would share that apartment room with multiple families, just kind of like sleeping on a little grass mat. And they basically lived off of whatever odd jobs they could do, and the dole. And the dole was like free bread that was given to the peasants or the plebeians in Rome. But yeah, the one that your book describes is the very early Roman homes, which were simple, 1 bedroom, usually made of timber, rough stone. Like they lived in what we might think of as cabins, right? Just 1 room. They were thinking about it as something that's going to develop as time goes on. That's going to be something that Rome starts getting. No, not in a market economy, because life isn't a zero-sum game. Zero-sum game means that if I win, you lose. But market economies aren't like that. Market economies are like, if I win, you win too, because we both get what we want. So it doesn't mean you necessarily have to take from others, or my success means your demise. But so as Romans gaining wealth, of course, the upper crust of society would have magnificent wealth. In fact, the very what am I thinking of? The very first prose novel ever written was by a Roman. And he wrote a book called The Satyricon. And he would just describe just how like overblown wealthy some Romans were. And you see here, there's like paintings and art even all over the walls, like rich tile work on the flooring, statues, things like that. Yeah, thank you, Marie Antoinette. All right, so the Roman household would also have a room for, or a corner at least, for their household gods, and they would also have a special place for Vesta, which was like the goddess of the herd. So, and this is very normal for a lot of ancient societies, even societies today, or societies that believe in, like polytheism, is the worship of your ancestors. To provide them with like religious styled respect. You still see that in many countries today in, like I say, in Asia and stuff, or even parts of South America still with indigenous populations. Well, the Romans were no exception.
Some like tribes in Australia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a very normal thing. It might have to do part of like the human grieving process. It might have to do with like respect for your own people. I don't know.
Day of the Dead, but on steroids.
Yeah, I just think like year round. This is actually going to be one of the things that's going to get a lot of Christians and Jewish people in trouble later on. It's because essentially the Romans are going to demand that Christians in particular burn incense to Caesar, who was their dead leader, who they deified as God. And because they wouldn't do that, many of them were executed as traitors to the state. But we'll get to that later. We will talk about Christian persecution. What up?
I think for Dia de los Muertos, people do that, but I think for a different reason.
Ancestors pray for the souls in purgatory.
What?
You pray for their salvation, is what I'm saying.
Catholic.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like praying for the intercession of and if they're in heaven, you're praying for them to pray for you as if they're a saint, So it's like you're praying that they go to heaven, and you're praying for their help at the same time, God for you. So but also, it might have a bit of like Native American influence in it too, I think. Yeah. So, but that's the thing about Christianity, is that Christianity often is according to the country it's in. It'll like take biblical principles and it'll mix some cultural stuff. And like next year we talk about that when we talk about how like you'll have German influences into Christianity. You'll have English influences in Christianity. And of course, later on, we'll talk about like Latin influences in Christianity, because Christianity started out as a Near Eastern religion in Israel. And of course, it's going to take on a lot of Roman trappings as it becomes more universal. All right, so we see that Roman people had their style of dress.